Robbie Williams Rewind.
Welcome to Robbie Williams Rewind. We are the champions. I'm Matt.
And I'm Lucy.
And along with help from special guests, we take you on an in-depth rewind through the solo career of multi-award-winning singer, songwriter and entertainer Robbie Williams.
In today's episode, we are truly honoured and very excited to welcome a man who has been extremely influential on Robbie's career. Alongside Guy, he produced Robbie's first 5 albums during his imperial phase, as Robbie calls it, from Life Thru A Lens through to Escapology. We're absolutely thrilled to be speaking to Steve Power.
Yes, we are. What an episode, hey, just before we get going.
Yeah, he was just so nice.
A lovely, lovely man.
Yes.
Very kind, very generous. We had such a laugh recording with him. It was really nice.
Yeah.
So many stories, many we can't include.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But we'll include as many as we can.
It was incredible. So kind of him to give us his time. And it was just great to talk through so much of Robbie's career.
Yeah, I think, in fact, we had so much to talk about. I think we might have to record with Steve again if he's up for it. He did say he would be. So, yeah. Yeah,
because, I mean, obviously, with so much of Robbie's career from 97 through to about 2003, and then even beyond that, they've worked together as well. Just so much to talk about. You just can't cover everything.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great process recording with you, Steve. So thank you for that. And I guess, Lucy, before we get going, we should, for anyone that doesn't know about Steve, we should give a bit of background to his career.
Yeah.
And, why he's so important to Rob's career as well. Steve was a member of Liverpool band Hamby and the Dance in the early 80s, but left to run the Pink recording studio, where he worked on demos for Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Dead or Alive. Then he moved to London's Battery Studios and worked with Billy Ocean, Womack and Bon Jovi. In 96, he co-produced Babylon Zoo's Spaceman song, which went to number 1 in 23 countries and became the fastest-selling debut single of all time. That same year, he also produced and mixed Baby Bird's You're Gorgeous, as well as most of their album. Remember that song well?
Yeah. Steve has worked with a wide range of artists, including Blur, Feeder, Busted, Delta Goodrem, Andrea Bocelli, McFly, Joe Cocker, The Stone Roses, The Charlatans, Jerry Halliwell, Kylie, and Gary Barlow. But it's Steve's work with Robbie, which he's probably most famous for. Steve and Guy Chambers met when Guy replaced Steve in Hamby and the Dance on the keyboards when Guy was only 15 years old. Later, when Guy formed the Lemon Trees, Steve helped out with some of their mixes. When Guy ended up writing Life Thru A Lens with Robbie, it was going so well, he was asked to produce the album too, but he didn't feel confident enough to do it alone, so he asked his old friend Steve to help him.
Guy and Steve won Producer of the Year at the 98 International Managers Forum Awards, following the incredible success of Life Thru A Lens. Steve has co-produced Life Thru A Lens, I've Been Expecting You, Sing When You're Winning, Escapology, and some tracks on Swing When You're Winning, including Something Stupid with Nicole Kidman. Each of those albums has been certified 7 times platinum or higher in the UK, which means they've all sold over 2.1 million copies. Escapology was newly certified 7 times platinum just recently in May 22.
Aside from those incredible albums, Steve has also worked on We Are the Champions with Robbie and Queen, Are You Gonna Go My Way with Tom Jones and Rob. He mixed the Live at Nebworth and Progress Live albums, and he produced the songs that Rob wrote with Kylie, including one of my favourite ever songs, Your Disco Needs You. Most recently, he's credited with producing Wedding Bells on Swings Both Ways and Weakness on Under the Radar 2.
And as if that wasn't enough, he's also co-produced quite a few B-sides, including Coffee, Tea and Sympathy, I Am the Res Erection, Ant Music, It's Only Us, Happy Song, United, John's Gay, Your History, Get a Little High, and Big Beef.
And I don't think that's like a limited list. I think there's more than that.
I think there's more than that. Yeah.
They're some of the ones that I found that he was actually fully credited for.
So an absolutely incredible musical producer and just a really all-round nice guy. So we hope you enjoy the episode.
Yeah, enjoy. Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Steve.
Well, it's great to be here.
Thank you.
So, just to give you a little context about us and the show, we've been Robbie fans since the beginning. I was a Take That fan. Robbie was always my favourite. We've seen him all over the world, met him on a number of occasions and chatted with him on his fan app and on Instagram and things. He likes to refer to us as the champions. So yeah, he knows about the podcast. So hopefully it's all good with him.
Hopefully it won't stop me. It won't stop me working with him again if I don't say any bad things. I won't tell you that. Those things we'll do off air.
Okay. So our podcast covers Rob's music, album by album, B-side by B-side, tour by tour, and we look at our favourite lyrics and memories over the past 25 years. We have guest fans and also special guests, such as yourself, joining us for each episode, and they join in the commentary and also talk about their love for Robbie and their best memories. And at the moment, we've released 22 episodes. We're right up to Take the Crown in 2012. So you could say that we know Rob and his work quite well.
Yeah. So, Steve, I'd love to hear a little bit from you about your background. What were your musical influences growing up?
Musically, Beatles, of course, because I am from Liverpool. You may have picked up on that. Mm-hmm. I loved everything in Liverpool at the time. It seemed to me that the centre of the universe was Liverpool when I was a kid because of Cilla Black, and then when I eventually started playing guitar myself, and I became part of the Liverpool music scene. The band I was in was signed to Virgin. I shared a flat with Wayne Hussey of The Mission, if you remember the Mission.
Yeah, I've heard
he was also in Dead or Alive. The manager of Dead or Alive later lived just below us. With the record company advance that we got, we built a studio instead of spending it on recording the album. We built our own and recorded it there. And that's kind of how I got to know Guy, because when he was 15, he came to a rehearsal of the band that I subsequently became part of. And I was there, and I met, he was 15, I was 18 or something. And he played a little bit with that band, not a huge amount. But then we made the album for Virgin, and I wanted to stay in the studio and run the studio. I was far more interested in that than in playing keyboards. I was the keyboard player at the time, supposedly. And Guy took my part, my position in the band to go on tour, playing my simple two-fingered keyboard parts. And and I ran the studio then. And so I sort of became, a big part of that era of music scene around 1981 to 84. I worked with Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Dead or Alive and lots of bands. I mean, I've recently had somebody, I had to speak to somebody about working with Lee Mavers of the Lars, because I worked with the first band he was in. He played bass in a band, and I can vaguely remember thinking, you should have your own band. He looked great, and he had this most incredible quiff you'd ever seen in your life at the time. There are pictures of it available somewhere. So, so I did lots of demos. Bands I did, would get major deals in London. People like, with The Farm, Kook the Books. I don't know if you remember these people. Dead or Alive.
Yeah, I remember The Farm. Yeah, I remember Dead or Alive. And of course.
Who else? The Lotus Eaters. First Picture of You. That was their big hit. So I think at a certain point I got inquiries from producer managers in London, because people would go to London and take my demos, and they'd say, who did these? And they'd say me. And sometimes the masters wouldn't come out as good as my demos. And then I got offers of management in London. So I came down and I went with a guy called Buzz Carter at first, who'd just before I went with him, he'd been managing Steve Lillywhite and another producer called Steve Brown, who did Wham and The Cult. Then I ended up as a house engineer at Battery Studios some years later. And then I would regularly kind of book Guy in, because he'd moved to London at that point. I would book him to come and play keyboards on sessions. You know, we kept our relationship going like that. But so that's how I ended up in the business, I suppose, in a short version.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued. Tell us a bit about who you are as a producer. What's your secret sauce? How do you like to work? What's your formula, if you like?
I'm not what you call an actual musician, because I know what musicians are. I mean, I'm like a bedroom guitarist, keyboard player, if you like. So, but I kind of understand music without calling myself a musician. I mean, I have played on records and stuff, bits of guitar and stuff, but nothing very complicated. And I lost my chops because I brought in people who could always play better than me. So my role, the type of producer I am, is a sort of a facilitator. I think I can organize everyone. I can know when something's going down the wrong direction, whereas perhaps the artist might not, and bring them back onto the straight and narrow. No, not the straight and narrow, the right path.
Yeah.
I think I'm good with keeping people confident, calm, and feeling like somebody's in control of the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can, I used to do, like with Guy, for instance, you would do most of the talking in those days with the managers and with the record companies, because he'd say the wrong thing. I would say, "No, Guy, don't you stay quiet. I'll do the talking."
So you're a level-headed producer then?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. He would have all the wild ideas, some of which we could bring off, but it would be me that would have the headache of how the hell are we going to manage to do that?
Yeah,
I know.
Right.
I know. I will put it. We'll put it like this to them. We'll sell it like this. Yeah. So I was probably the level-headed one, but I was also had engineering chops as well. So I did the mixing and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I was more of a Hugh Padgham type producer than a Trevor Horn. Not just come in with a wacky idea and leave the room for 3 hours and come back and see what they've done with the wacky idea.
So quite hands-on.
I was the hands-on, the details guy.
Yeah. So if we go back to the start, and go through chronologically, what were your initial thoughts when Guy asked you to come and work on Robbie from Take That's first album?
Well, I just had a little run with, I'd had Spaceman as a hit with Babylon Zoo.
Yeah.
And I'd had 4 top 10s with Baby Bird, including You're Gorgeous. And Guy came to me and said, I've been asked to write with this Robbie Williams book, do you fancy, helping me out with it, share the production. And I was like, I don't think so, Guy. I believe Gary Barlow's the talented one. I think that this guy's, he's not really, as far as I know, he's just a bit of a joker. I'm not sure it's the right thing for me at this point in my career when I'm just taking off. And I don't know, maybe he asked me again a couple of times, and then I wasn't doing anything. And Guy's my friend.
Yeah.
So I thought, look, I tell you what, look, I'll just help you out with Old Before I Die. I'll just help you out with the one track, and then I'll leave you to it. Get that one done. So I can remember going across to his house in Gladsmuir Avenue in Highgate, and going in and meeting Rob, and they were just writing some songs in Guy's one of his bedrooms, converted into a mini studio with one of those old Porter studio type things or something. And they played me Angels, of course.
Oh, of course they did, yeah.
As soon as I walked in, I thought, I think I think Rob sang it. I don't think the voice was on tape. I think he just sang it to me in the room.
Yeah.
I thought, that's quite good.
That was one of the questions we were going to ask. What did you think when you first heard Angels?
I did think, that's really good. And I could hear the Hey Jude sort of reference. So originally it was in F, you see, like Hey Jude, and the piano starts just the same in F. I thought, it's Hey Jude. Oh no, it's not Hey Jude. But I was very impressed, and he played me Baby Girl Window, I think.
Yeah. And
I don't know what the others were, a couple of others.
Yeah.
And we went out for a drink, and it was agreed that I would do this All Before I Die track before going on to do some proper work.
Right.
That might actually make me some money.
Yeah.
So we went in West Side, and I think it would that have been Rob's 24th birthday?
Well, that would have been 23rd birthday, maybe 23rd.
Well, it was in 97, so
yeah, he would have been 23.
So we just recorded that one track in West Side, with some of the guys who became the band, like Phil Eisler. The drummer was
Smiley.
No,
Smiley Barnard.
No, not on Jeff Dugmore.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Smiley played the gigs around that time, but Jeff Dugmore played All Before I Die, and Guy and Phil played the guitars, and Guy played keyboards. And what I remember about the birthday, you see, is I thought it was odd that it was his birthday, and he'd only just met us people, but we were the people on his birthday party, and he didn't kind of seem to have any friends that that came separate to these brand new people he'd just met.
Yeah.
Which was sort of like, this person's slightly different to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I guess he always lived in the moment at that time.
He did. I mean, he did tend to move on to people. He would have people who were his friends for so many months, and then he'd move them on and bring in new people. I think he does that. He still does that to some extent now.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
What were your first impressions of Rob? Was he interested in the production side, or did he just not? He just left it up to you and Guy?
He was very much bored. He had not enjoyed Take That recording sessions that they had given him the heebie-jeebies because of the endless drop-ins, and endlessly being told what he sang wasn't right, or wasn't good enough, or wasn't in tune, or wasn't something.
Right.
And so he did not like having to be in a recording studio, and he hated waiting for things to happen. What he always enjoyed was writing. He could go in. It didn't matter if the drums were a bit out of time, or the guitars were a bit out of tune. You still made your creation quickly. It didn't matter how he sang, because he's all about spontaneity, as you know, Rob.
Yeah.
I can remember working on the Take That and Rob Progress tour, and the Take That's moves where they were on the stage, and what they said would be the same every night.
Yeah.
And everything they did. And Rob was completely different every night, and you never did the same thing twice. And found it. He's just the kind of person he's very spontaneous. And he doesn't want to wait for things. So he would that particular first session. I'm pretty sure we just told him that they had to come in to sing. And if he didn't have to be in the studio, he didn't want to be there.
Right.
When it's a proper recording, as I say, the complete opposite of when he's writing. When he's fully involved, and he loves it because he's creating something. Then, when he created something in the writing, I think he dislikes the fact it's got to be created again.
Right. Yeah.
A bit, but a bit more polished, because it just doesn't appeal to him.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite track on Life Thru a Lens?
Well, it'd have to be Angels, I think, wouldn't it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like, I mean, the ones that probably aren't people's favourites. I liked South of the Border. Thought that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't like Let Me Entertain You. I thought it was a bit rock opera, which it is, of course.
It kind of is.
But I don't mind that anymore.
Yeah. I like Ego a Go Go.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. What were the B-sides? What was the B-side? Do you remember the B-sides to that?
Well, things like Teenage Millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that one.
That was good. The mixing of Teenage Millionaire in Maison Rouge sticks in my head because at that time, Elton was trying to take care of him. He was going to have to go out with Elton for dinner that night. And he didn't want to go because he knew Elton would try and take care of him. He knew if he went that he might end up in rehab, which he did. for one night only. Yeah. But I remember he'd had a few drinks that afternoon. And I remember he was lying under the desk, under the mixing console, the SSL mixing, and I was mixing Teenage Millionaire. And every now and then he'd grab my ankle and say, I love you, Steve. Yeah, Rob. All right, mate. Yeah. Don't make me go to Elton's.
Oh, brilliant.
It's quite fitting that was happening during the mixing of that song, because that song is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You'll be all right, Rob. Don't worry. He's a nice man. But he did cart him off to rehab for 1 day or 2 days. This is well known, is it? Yeah.
It is known, yeah. I think Robbie left.
Then he got out again.
Yeah, he left. He said he was missing the England football match or something. Yeah. And so he just walked out.
But subsequently, he said, well, not only a few weeks later, of course, he did end up in rehab.
He did.
For real. Mm. But that was a funny night as well. Would I be jumping the gun to tell you about that funny night?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, it's during the same set. Oh, well, it's...
Yeah, tell us.
Oh, no. Well, it was just... He was singing Angels that day. That was the last song he had to sing. We'd said, me and Guy had said he can't go until he sung all the songs.
Yeah.
Because it was being arranged.
That, yeah.
The management were arranging for him to go. And Cleo Rockos was in the studio. Remember Cleo Rockos from the Kenny Everett show?
Oh, I do know who you're talking about, yes. Yeah.
Miss Whiplash.
Yes. Yes.
She played. Lovely girl, lovely woman. And he had, for some reason, I think she'd been picking him up off the floor here and there from clubs and making sure he got home safely. I think she sort of took him under her wing.
Yeah.
A little bit like she did Freddie Mercury, at one point. Anyway, she turned up. She came to a few sessions, and this was the last day he was singing Angels, and he'd sung it all afternoon, and I remember Guy was going to let him go. I said, no, he's going to have to stay and sing some more after dinner. I still don't think we've got it. So we had dinner together. And it was at 9 o'clock or something. The management, Gabby Chelnicker, was there, ready to take him off. I said, oh, yeah, we've got it now. You can go. And we went outside and Gabby took him off in their mini car. I remember him turning round from the mini and giving us this. sad-faced wave out the back of the window. But having said that, we went to see him then, Guy and I, in rehab. Only 2 or 3 weeks later, he looked incredible. He'd lost a stone at least.
Yes.
Those and he was being let out for the Lazy Days video.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And he does look
Nearby.
incredible in that video.
Yes. In that video, that's what rehab does for you, folks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He went in looking like a fat 28-year-old, and he came out looking like a skinny, svelte 18-year-old.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
He did look good in that video, didn't he?
Yeah. And then he shaved all his hair off after recording that video.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, when Life Thru A Lens, obviously it didn't do very well to begin with, and then obviously Angels came out, and suddenly it was in the charts for nearly 2 years. What was that like for you guys?
I couldn't believe it, really. I mean, I do know that, you see, Angels, I noticed that I never got tired of, whenever we were working on it, whenever I was mixing it, I never ever got tired of it. It just seemed to get better and better.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed the track. I can remember being told by Tim Clark, yes, you, Tim, the manager,
Yeah.
getting a phone call from him telling me to keep the strings down on it because it made it sound too middle of the road. And I said, no, Tim, the strings are just right. They're going to stay just where they are.
Oh, good. I'm glad you kept them as they were.
It was, but, Steve, strings are a bit middle of the road, you think? No, Tim, they're not. No, they're just right. Goodbye. Yeah. I did have a compromise, though. There was a compromise because he said a similar thing about "Let Me Entertain You," and I think as a trade-off, I did let the horns on the record version are too low because he was concerned about them, being the wrong flavour. Right. Then subsequently, when I mixed live performances, put them the right volume. So whenever I hear the original, I think, bloody hell, those horns are 3 dBs too quiet.
Because, of course,
it's quite annoying.
Requested there was no saxophone on that, didn't he? Demanded it was trumpets instead.
I think, are you talking about Tim or Rob?
Rob, yeah, Rob.
No, Rob. What I remember is when you do sessions where you've got 20 odd musicians there. Mm-hmm. As far as I knew, he never said no saxophones altogether. This is what I think he might be referring to. Is that when you've got musicians in the room, you never want them to leave, and then after they've left the room, you never want to say, "Oh, I wish we'd asked them to do this. Or wish we'd asked them to do that." So we'd done these 2 trumpet solos at the end of the record. One played by Steve Sidwell, and then the second trumpet solo is by Derek Watkins, mm-hmm. who played on Strawberry Fields Forever, folks. Oh. Now, before they left the room, Guy just said, "Oh, we should just because you should. Could you ask somebody to do a saxophone solo?" Yeah. And Rob got him by the throat against the wall. Never, ever put a saxophone solo on one of my records.
Yes, I've heard that story. Yeah. So you were in the room when that happened, were you?
Well, he took him outside the room. Yeah. Oh. But it was hilarious.
I feel like that harks back to A Million Love Songs and him just not wanting to sound like take that.
Well, sax solos were completely regarded as uncool for a long period, weren't they? And they're only just starting to peek their head above the water again now, Yeah. Very occasionally. So it wasn't saxophones in general, it was just a sax solo he didn't want.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
So with the huge success there, how much pressure, or was there pressure when you were creating the second album, I've Been Expecting You? Was it that difficult second album, Steve?
Well, I remember I wrote up on the board or something, that difficult second album that turned out not to be so difficult after all at some point. Because when Guy was coming to me with songs, I remember him coming to my house a few times, he'd bring 15 backing tracks, some with vocals, some without, each time, and he just had loads of songs. Yeah. I do remember one thing though, that he didn't want Strong to be on the record.
Oh,
Guy. He didn't think it was very good.
Guy didn't.
Because and I know why, because he's such a genius musically, he just found E, A and B was just a bit too boring. And okay, it's got an F sharp minor as well. But he thought it wasn't very interesting. And I said, no, Guy, that's the single. Really?
You've obviously got a good ear for it.
Do you think so? Well, it wasn't swinging. It didn't have that swing. I remember the demo.
Yes.
But, I thought, I could hear that it could go that way straight away. And, yeah, that was good.
And how involved was Rob with the production by this point? Was he a little bit more engaged with you guys? Less?
Even less.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Let me know when I've got to come in and sing, and I don't want to be there for more than an hour.
Right.
I was going to say, I've got a quote here from him. It says, "It's been nice being out of London and doing the vocals, but it ain't half boring. The only bit I enjoy is the half hour it takes to write them. Yeah. I'd do anything to get out of singing."
Exactly. That's the only time he enjoys it, is when he would, the bit where he wrote that, he was probably there, hours.
Yeah.
But once it's written, he's not interested anymore in doing it again. I've done that.
So how do you actually keep his attention?
You must have had some tricks there, Steve. Did you have any little tricks to keep him occupied and keep his attention going?
We did do on the first album, when he was still drinking. We actually used to arrange for little gangs of young women to come and watch him, and because he'd give him for someone so he'd show off, because he'd look at me, he'd look at me and Guy and say, "What am I singing to you two fat boy and fox for?" So we'd hang on a minute, we go and get office girls and people who come in to sit at the back of the studio and they look around. We've got this is Becky and this is so and so, and then he'd show off.
Right.
And actually, we'd actually get a better vocal take. We actually got I actually saved "Let Me Entertain You" for when Zoe Ball was coming to the studio in 1997. And she was coming with Jamie Theakston because he was going to go on their show, and they were just going to pop in for an hour for to say hi and look around the studio and hear a couple of tracks. So they came in, heard a couple of tracks, and then I thought, this is my chance. I said, "Rob, how do you fancy? While Zoe's here, why don't you sing 'Let Me Entertain You'?" Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll sing "Let Me." Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Go out and he just amazing vocal because he wanted to show off to Zoe Ball.
Wow.
And most of that take is the one on the record.
Right.
Oh. It just shows how in the moment Rob needs to be there, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he responds to connection and feeds from even a small audience of good-looking women.
And how easily bored he can get as well.
Yeah. We thought you might have a few tricks up your sleeve, not just the technical ones.
we had some terrible days though when he won't mind me saying, because he likes the truth. He doesn't care about the truth. Other people try and hide it. He'd be supposed to be there on a Thursday to sing a song, and he wouldn't arrive, and so we'll do the guitars on this, and still hasn't arrived. To call the management, he'd be along a bit later, so we'd do more guitars, do something or other. Then we get a call. He's not going to come. He's going to come tomorrow. So, okay, Friday comes, we'd be there, tidying things up, doing whatever we could think of to do. Still wouldn't come. We'd come in on Saturday, which we were going to be our day off or something.
Yeah.
And he still wouldn't come all day. He's supposed to be coming all day, just sitting there waiting for him. Sometimes he just, what should we do? Oh, and it was summer though when we did Life Thru A Lens. So we could walk down the Fulham Road and get a coffee and, find some vaguely interesting things to do. But I'm just waiting for him. But he just couldn't get it together to actually come to a studio.
Oh dear.
Bless him.
I don't think he's like that now.
No, the studio comes to him now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true. So I found an old article in Music Week that came out before I've Been Expecting You, and basically it said, Robbie's management said, Rob has got big very quickly in the UK and we're concerned not to create a bubble that has a chance of bursting. And so they consciously limited the promo in the UK for the album. There were no TV adverts. He only appeared on 3 TV shows and did 4 print interviews. And yet I've Been Expecting You is his biggest selling album in the UK. Do you think that basically his bubble was so big that he could do anything, or was the music really the best?
I think it was. It was probably my favourite album.
Right.
He was all over the radio, because he was the most played on British radio for a long time.
Yeah.
So he was everywhere, or his music was everywhere. In fact, I've got the award. He brought it in and said, "You should have this, Steve." He said, "I've got the award for most played on British radio."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And MTV was big then as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the videos were on. You couldn't watch MTV for an hour without seeing one or two of his. So he just still was everywhere, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was that he had that classic rites of passage story, from what I thought at the beginning. He's not the talented one, and so I don't want to work with him. He went from being that to bloody hell, this guy's amazing.
Yeah. And Karma Killer is one of my all-time favourite songs. He recently sung it at his Port Vale gig.
Yes.
You got any memories of recording that?
That was just the devil's interval being utilised. Dun 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 dun. And it being about his first manager, Nigel. I think we were at I can't remember the name of the studio, but he was going out with All Saints.
Nicole,
yeah.
Nicole Appleton.
At the time, she came to the studio. Remember that?
Do you remember it's got dogs barking in it? We've always wondered why there's dogs barking.
Towards the end, there's a lot of dogs barking.
Yeah. We wondered whether Nigel doesn't like dogs, and that's why.
It's got that classic line, "I hope you choke when you Bacardi and Coke" in it.
Let me play the end of it and see. Often when you play music, it does come back to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Music, and it's right at the very end after the music stopped, is it?
Yeah, just like the outro.
Just as it
song.
starts to fade. Yeah.
That's the last sort of 15 seconds.
There's dogs barking.
Yeah.
I can't remember whose idea that was or why it came about.
Okay. Never mind.
He belted that out in Stoke, though. That went down really well.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly did with the first few front rows. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we move on to the Sing When You're Winning album, by which time Rob is obviously very established pop star. So did his success change the way that you worked on the music?
I think that all of us involved in the project had this great confidence by that point.
Yeah.
We kind of, everyone felt that we couldn't do any wrong because the chemistry was working really well. Rock DJ went through several incarnations because he had this thing where he wanted to be. He was worried he wasn't cool enough for you because it was a disco song. Mm-hmm. I think that's where some of the rapping came in.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to make it cooler. But I do know that I don't know what it was like, but some good bits were lost because of that. Do you know Let Love Be Your Energy? Is it common knowledge that that's Lazy Days backwards?
No.
I
didn't know that.
Right. There were 2 versions of Lazy Days. There was a kind of a slower, rockier version, and then the more up-tempo version became the record. And it might be the slower, rockier version, which is somewhere available as a B-side. Turn that backwards, and you hear the backwards noises on it, I think. Can you hear it at the beginning? Let's just see. There's backwards guitars there if you... And that is Lazy Days backwards, literally.
I had no idea.
Right. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So that's where that song was written from, and then I'd obviously edited a little bit around. to come. Better Man. I remember this distinctly. This was Guy's stag do in France we went to, and Rob took himself off, and he was sitting in the corner of the garden with a guitar, and he came across and he'd written this verse because he doesn't know many chords on the guitar, but he knows E minor and D.
Yeah.
Right.
And one or two others. So he started that one off all on his own. Then Guy helped him with some more chords and stuff. Remember? This of course came from the Barry White sample.
Yeah, which Kelvin Andrews brought along to the studio.
Yeah. We didn't use the sample, we recreated it.
Yeah.
That the girls doing the yes you can. I remember they were singing it normally, and I remember asking them to sing it more street. And then they came out. Fine, and they was just like they just switched from being women to street kids. Just like that. It was great.
I think Rob was still making changes to the lyrics, even in the vocal booth when you were recording Rock.
Yeah, he generally did. Yeah, I mean, well, there's a bit on that Sing When You're Winning DVD. When I questioned him about, because when he says pimping ain't easy, and I said to him, have you ever seen that video?
Yeah, I've seen that clip, yeah.
Is it okay? Do you want to be saying that you're a pimp? And he sort of thought of me as being quite sheltered, life, because I never took cocaine or anything. Right. And he's like, oh, Steve.
I think Guy made the comment, well, we've already said that give no head, no backstage passes. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I remember the mix on this one. I got a parking ticket because of this. I was mixing this one on a Thursday afternoon in Battery, and the computer went down, and it was about 7 o'clock in the evening, 8 o'clock in the evening, and the maintenance man came in and said, "Oh, you may as well go home, Steve, because it's not gonna be working again tonight." Went home, came in on Friday. They got it going, maybe midday or something, and I thought, great, carried on, finished it, sent it to Guy, sent it to the A&R man, Chris Briggs, and Guy came back with, "Oh, I'd like to rearrange the end." Really? Why? Oh, I know. I forgot to say that I did put one down on the Thursday.
Right.
And that's the one I sent to them. And then the computer went dodgy. Friday he says he wants to rearrange the end. I'd like the solo to come in, I forget, it was earlier or later or whatever it was. So I'll try it, see if it works. Went in on the Friday and I was doing that. And that's when the computer went down. On the Friday in the middle of all that. So which meant I'd have to come in on the Saturday, which was supposed to be a long awaited day off. Yeah. So it broke. I went in on the Saturday, and then on the Saturday I sped in my car down the motorway because I was supposed to be at home with the family. I thought I'd get this done quickly. So I bombed, I think I was doing 100 or something. 103. Well, there's no cars around by the time, but the police got me.
Oh no.
And, dear. Yeah. And you can lose your license for doing over 100. So anyway, I apologised and went in, finished this edit, sent it out, sent it to Guy, sent it to the A&R man, Chris. And Monday morning, Chris comes on the phone and says, I like the one you did on Thursday. So, of course, that's the record. The one I did on Thursday is the one that came out. So I'd wasted 2 days and a big fat speeding
ticket.
Because of that guy Chambers. And I'll never forgive him. If I'm going to get him later.
Did he pay the fine for you?
No, I'm going to get him and batter him later. He's at a health farm right now.
Oh, lovely.
So I can't get him till he comes back.
Right.
What was after that?
Also, kids, I'd love to hear a bit about recording with Kylie.
Oh, little Kylie. She was so sweet. I'd just been writing some songs with her before she came in to sing.
Oh, right.
So I knew her very well.
Right.
remember that she came in, and I do remember this, that she went out, they were singing together at first, side by side, and she was kind of blasting it in sort of trying to compete with Rob's big voice, I think. But it was when Kylie sings loud, it's quite. So I got Rob to go away and said, no, give it more like, we know purple is sure. More breathy, basically.
Yeah.
And she did it, and then I know that helped a lot. That's how we got that vocal. And then I think it was a naughty Pro Tools engineer man who said, why don't we get her to do some heavy breathing on the track? So yeah, I looked at him and I said, that sounds good. So then she had an hour and a half of her doing track going, which you do actually work on the track if you notice they are there.
Does. Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't just pure misogyny.
You also worked on Your Disco Needs You as well, didn't you?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I think that's one of my all-time favourite songs. It's a gay anthem, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a great experience. And she was fantastic. And it was a big old production with a big orchestra, far too much to fit into a pop record. Guy's very much of a kitchen sink. Guy's very much of a kitchen sink producer he wants to get. And it's my problem to manage to fit all the things in somehow.
It's true, actually, Steve. As we've been reviewing all of the tracks, I mean, some of them are just so rich and just so much depth and layered. I mean, for a producer, I guess that's a good and a bad thing sometimes for you. But
yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's a challenge. It becomes like a computer game. Is it possible to get all this into one tiny bit of dynamic range? Guy laments actually that live, all you can hear is there's because of the way acoustics work in stadiums, it's all drums and voice, and all these nuances are lost.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
It's true. Yeah,
it was a single in Germany. Your Disco Needs You.
I know. Yeah, it's a shame. Apparently someone in the UK record company said it was too
cheesy.
Gay. No, they said it was too gay. Apparently.
Oh right, did they?
Which
That should have been an advantage.
I know.
Yeah, it definitely should have been out here.
Oh, it's just an incredible song. I love it.
Yeah. I did like Singing for the Lonely a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember suggesting he called the album that after, because there's a Frank Sinatra album called. Is it called Singing for the Lonely? Something
it
like
might
that.
be. I'm not sure.
An early Sinatra one.
Rob apparently told Guy that he wasn't happy with the polished sheen of Sing When You're Winning. That was in, the autobiography Feel.
Yeah.
Did you seem unhappy with it at the time, or?
I remember that I had, at the mixing, I borrowed these mastering speakers which you can hear every detail on. And I kind of did go to town on the audio in a hi-fi way a bit more. And then some people would say, oh, that's the best album, because they thought it was the best sounding album.
Yeah.
But that might be the very reason why Rob may have mentioned it.
Right, okay.
But after that, of course, was the next one Escapology?
No, Swing, then Swing, and then Escapology.
Swing,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Escapology being the opposite.
Yes, very raw. So did you have a favourite song?
I probably Rock DJ.
Yeah.
It's a great party song.
It is, yeah. Still is. Still goes down well live.
Oh, yes.
Still let love be your energy. Kids.
Yeah, it makes me laugh that he says he wasn't keen on the polished sheen, but he still sings so many songs of that album.
I think he's referring to the hi-fi nature of it, not the not the songs. Do you think it sounds a bit more hi-fi?
It does have a different sort of feel to it, yeah. But I like it.
I kind of like that, but all the Beatles albums have a different sound to them. I didn't want to do this, make the same, everything sound the same kind of thing.
No,
yeah. All his albums do have a different sound to
Yeah,
them,
they do,
actually.
yeah.
And I think that is a positive.
You always want to try. Yeah, you don't want to repeat yourself. You want to give it a different approach.
No.
Yeah.
And of course, Better Man was on that album, which is the title of his biopic that's coming out. Maybe we'll talk about that later on. We'll have a few questions for you on that one.
One other thing that may have influenced me on that is that was the Roxy Music curve by Avalon. They had a very super hi-fi album, whereas the earliest weren't. So,
Right.
And I thought that was part of the correct trajectory for an artist, that you should get more hi-fi as you went on. And then we moved away from it, then do the opposite.
Yeah. So I think on the Swing When You're Winning album, you just worked on Something Stupid in Things. What was that like? You worked with Nicole Kidman?
Yeah, that was a pretty surreal moment in Capitol when she came in to do the vocals. Because we actually recorded that. All the tracks of that, the musicians were recorded in Capitol. Yeah. However, those two were done in London with the British musicians. And only the vocals were done over there. And I remember that the control room at Capitol was fairly empty. And then people, Nicole arrived with this guy who was sort of helping her with the vocals. And suddenly the room was full of extra engineers. Where did all these people come from? It was like that. Everyone wanted to see Nicole sing. And I remember she was very tall.
Yeah.
Yes.
She is like a model.
Yeah,
basically.
beautiful.
But she's very sweet. And I remember that she didn't sing the way the Nancy line. She sang her own version that she couldn't catch on to the Nancy line. It was slightly different, but it still worked.
Yeah.
That was very enjoyable. Yeah. She was only there maybe 2 hours or something.
Wow.
Rob sang with her, and then get Rob out and get some more takes just with Nicole, and then take it away and comp the best of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great track, I think.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Christmas #1.
It was. That was the Christmas that me and Matt met.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why do you think the Swing record did so well for Robbie?
Because the demographic it sold to was the theory at the time, because it could sell to grannies, children, teeny boppers, everyone.
Yeah.
And it could be at the till at Asda, and people go, oh, I know all these songs. Oh yeah, that's a bit. Oh yeah, I'll have that for Christmas present.
Yeah.
So it was very clever marketing, really.
Yeah.
To spread. I mean, and he does love those songs. As you know, his dad, he grew up listening to his dad sing all those songs.
He seems very at home, very comfortable when he's singing Swing. Is that he has been swinging it literally for all his life. So I think
exactly.
You can feel
he's
it.
very much at home with all that. Oh, I know a funny story actually. When he did what's it called? One for My Baby, One More for the Road.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the pianist who played the piano when Frank did it was brought in.
Yeah.
Whose name eludes me.
Is it Al Schmidt?
No, he's the engineer.
Yeah.
He was the engineer. Al Schmidt's the engineer.
Right. I've forgotten who it was as well now.
So anyway, they're going to do Rob's standing by the piano. It's going to be recorded live, piano and vocal. And they do a run through. And Rob's, a little bit in awe of this guy because he's, he played with Frank so much. And at the end, Rob says to him, was there anything, wrong? You think I could do better? And the guy goes, well, in the bridge, there's at the end of the bridge, there's a couple of retards on the original. And Rob was like, "What? You and Frank? No." he thought they were saying that the originals was done by a couple of retards, but of course he meant the Italian ritardando, a a couple of slowdowns. What is it? And one more for the road. It slows down, you see. It goes, but when Robert sung it, he's so used to singing with click tracks. You go, one more for the road. And then off he'd go again with the next bit without waiting. And that's what he was telling them. There's a couple of retards. and the face on Rob was just a picture. He was like, no.
Oh, I love that. Great story. I think the success of Rob's swing album is actually reflected in our podcast because, as we said, we've got about 22 episodes out now, and all of them are receiving good numbers, but the swing one is just soaring above all the others. Yeah. Everyone goes to the swing podcast episode first, so we're seeing the same in our numbers.
Yeah.
In a way, there's the less about Rob to be had there because he didn't write the songs.
Yeah.
So that surprises me really.
I know it is funny. So moving on to Escapology, which was the best-selling album of 2002 in the UK. Quite remarkable. So apparently Rob said, "I know what I don't want, and it's the over-perfection of the last album." And then you were quoted as saying, "Perhaps we over-egged some of the tracks, and he was keen to get back to the way we recorded on the first album, a more raw feel. So that did dictate the direction of the album." So was Rob much more involved in the production by then? Much more interested in the sound?
He was. I think he only really said that. What you've just said that he said. Yeah. And we interpreted that as, right, let's get a band together in a studio and record live.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's my favourite one actually, the most live sounding one. Is it only on a B-side? It isn't even on here. What was it called? Song. After song. You have the Blair song that was called
Song 3. Song 3. Yeah, that is on there, but it's not on the American version. It's on the UK version and not on the American version.
Ah, well, that one is almost completely live, which I surprised you. It's not on the American one. But yeah, and we had everyone playing at once, and we also had Alex Acuna from Weather Report playing percussion on things like Me and My Monkey and what's the one with the cowbell? Hot Fudge.
Is it Hot Fudge? Yeah.
Hot Fudge, yeah. Dunk, yeah. So, yeah, Alex Acuna's on about 4 songs playing live. And the bones of that, we were there for 2 weeks. And I remember that Christina Aguilera was in the studio next door and didn't like us.
Why?
Why?
I think we were too noisy.
I guess if you had the full band going.
She was tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, Kylie's small, but she was. Kylie could look down on her.
Really?
She didn't have any shoes on. Anyway, don't know what that's got to do with anything. So we were there for 2 weeks, banging the tracks out. And then we brought them back to London, and then we polished them.
Oh, okay. So you worked it that way.
Mingai went into we had the rawness at the beginning of the track, as the basis of the track, and then we could go back to London and add strings and do the piano again on feel and get things a bit more accurate. But having built on the rawness, I think we did manage to keep the raw thing still there.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Apparently How Peculiar was a stream of consciousness that came out of Rob's mouth during recording with no pre-written lyrics. Is that right? Can you remember that?
I wasn't there when he wrote the lyrics, so
right.
I couldn't tell you. But I know what it's about, and it's a little bit naughty.
Oh yeah, we know. He said it was about a lady that he.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he I've forgotten exactly the quote, but
Well, we've talked about it in the
we have
episode,
talked
haven't
about
we?
it.
Yeah.
It was someone that he fancied that he found that he couldn't talk to. He lost his words when she came near, or something.
Yes.
But he said he did get his way in the end, or something.
Yeah.
We don't
He's
know
like
who it's
that,
about, though.
No.
And I don't expect
nobody
you to
knows.
tell us. No.
No. He can be like that with celebrities. I think he's, he's that strange combination of incredibly confident and incredibly insecure at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's kind of scared. I've seen him be scared of appearing boring, if he meets a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to have to talk to them in case they find out he's boring.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure most people feel like that.
Yeah. I suppose. Well, no, because he's supposed to be something big. I mean, I can meet someone and they don't know who the hell I am. It doesn't matter if I'm boring or not, so it doesn't bother me. But if I meet him, I think perhaps he thinks he's got a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
So he can't be. He can't be allowed. He's got to be
the ego,
something special.
The ego is still there. Yeah. But But we've spoken a number of times to the real Rob, and I think we know what he's like out of the limelight a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, which one's the real Rob?
Well, that's a good point.
Well, it's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found him quite down to earth when we've chatted with him. Actually, I mean, we didn't know him in the very early days, but more recently, quite a bit more grounded, I think, with a family and kids.
Well, having the 4 kids,
yeah.
And having Ida to deal with.
Ida had a lot to do with sorting him out.
Yeah.
So we've all heard about the difficulties that arose over Come Undone between Rob and Guy. And then I think in the end you took over production of that song, and it's now one of his most popular songs.
Yeah.
Was that all very awkward for you at the time?
It was. I wish I could have sorted them out at the time, but I think they would, between them, I think Rob had got to a point where, perhaps rightly, he felt, I could be putting words in his mouth, and he might not be happy. But I think that to some extent he got tired of Guy getting all the credit, people thinking that, it was all Guy and telling him what to do, which was not at all the case. Rob's a great writer, a great individual lyricist. There's no one can do it like him. He's very, very special, and he wasn't being recognised. And he at one point he started to go off and write with other people. Now I've always wondered if that was because he wanted to show that he could do stuff, and it wasn't just Guy. And then Guy didn't like Come Undone for reasons he didn't like Strong, actually, as I've said, because it was just C, F and G sort of song. There's nothing to it, really. There's nothing musically adventurous or interesting in it for Guy.
Yeah.
So at that point, Rob was letting it know, this is my memory of it, letting Guy know that he was going to be writing with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then Guy went, oh flip, there's half my income gone or more. I better start writing with other people. So he started doing that, and when we were back in LA for the second period of recording Escapology, on Guy's days off, he would book a studio and say, I'd be mixing, and Sunday was Guy's days off, and he'd arrange for an artist to come in to write with.
Yeah.
And I think But then, ironically, Rob got a bit jealous. Oh, he's writing with other people. Well, that's what you said you were going to write with other people. I thought, I better add as well. Kind of thing was guys thinking. But I don't, maybe because this was during the recording of Escapology, and he thought he should be solely focused on that. But, but even though it was his day off, and kind of thing. Yeah. So then there was this little bit of an edge to their relationship, and I remember that one day. I mean, at the end, I was mixing in Studio 2, and Guy was getting the last of the vocals recorded in Studio 1. And I remember getting the phone in my studio rang, and it was Guy, and he said, "Steve, can you come in here and deal with him for a minute?" I said, "Well, all right, what's going on here?" So I went in, and he said, "Where are you up to?" "We're up to the second verse." And Guy went to the back, and I said, "Okay, Rob, let's go for this second verse." And he sang it, or whatever. He could do it. He could do it better if he had another go. I said, "Yeah, one more." I said, and he looks at me and goes, "Why? You saying what I've just done is shit?" and then I realised immediately what he'd been doing with Guy, and Guy can't deal with that stuff as much as me. Kind of, he doesn't know what to do with that kind of confrontation. Yeah. And I just said, "Shit, Rob, it'd have to go be a lot better to make shit." and Rob said to Guy, he said, "See, that's how you do it." so and you, because Guy's an incredible musician, but that side of him sometimes he doesn't know how to deal with. But the worst thing for me was that when this was happening, a film crew were there.
No.
And the two managers, Tim and David, and the A&R man Chris. There was all these old, posh, very important blokes there, and I didn't know what was going on in the room. And I remember thinking, I go one way or the other here. I'm either going to get it right, or I'm going to get sacked.
Oh my God!
So with the camera pointing at me, I said, "Rob, that'll have to go some to be shit. It's nowhere near shit yet." So apparently I made the right guess.
Did he find that amusing, that comment?
Yeah, Rob did. Rob was like, "Yeah, that's how you do it."
The mood,
because he'd obviously been toying with Guy and because I'm from Liverpool or something, and you're familiar with the concept of skitting people. We have a pop at each other.
Oh yeah.
We kind of have a go at each other, call them whatever names, and that means we like you.
Okay.
Right.
You see, but Guy's a lot posher than me, and it was just what? I don't understand this aggression. What's going on? But I was able to just turn it straight back at him. I just pretended I was back in Liverpool, and he was fine then. Yeah. So I did another half an hour, and then Guy took over again, and maybe he took it easier on him after that.
Yeah.
He was just testing him in front of the cameras to see how he'd react. Yeah.
Well,
I've often wondered if that footage will come out at any point.
Yeah, I've never seen
loads of footage.
Have we? No. I'm sure there's
loads
of footage hidden away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know there was someone, Life Thru A Lens, the first album, that there's a lot of footage taken. And I've never seen any of that either.
Well, maybe you'll appear in the biopic soon.
Yeah, maybe.
We don't quite know what the artistic creative plans for that are, obviously, but we're wondering whether some old footage might find its way in there. But
who knows?
Yeah, interesting.
And what a song! I mean, "Come Undone." I mean, just we ask a lot of fans what their favourite songs are, and that does tend to come out as one of the ones which people say a lot.
Well, yeah, especially lyrically.
Yeah.
It's him bearing his soul.
Yeah.
Rob always says that "Coffee, Tea and Sympathy" should have been included on Escapology. It ended up as a B-side. Why wasn't it included?
Yeah, I can't remember why it didn't get on.
No.
I mean, it could have gone on. I was just looking at, I know that it did, when it did Come Undone, I did this one at the same time. Get a Little High.
Yeah,
And that
that-
isn't on the English version.
No, it's on the American album.
But I don't know what was taken off the American album to get this on.
Oh, the
If something was.
Hot Fudge and Song 3.
Yeah.
Hot Fudge was taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
And so,
that.
yeah. I like this lyric. I mean, the thing about Rob is he's always interested in the thing he's just done.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we know that.
And
Yeah.
so whatever was done 3 months ago, he doesn't really care anymore. He just wants this latest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Stephen Duffy had that problem with, what was his album called?
Intensive Care.
Yeah, because he lost it at the end when Stephen was finishing it off and doing the editing or whatever and getting to the mix, and that's when he went off and did Rude Box because he wasn't interested anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And he wanted that to be dropped and
Yeah.
and
But he had a big tour to do.
and he wanted to Rude Box to come out instead.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing. I've got an album on my books on my hard drives of an album he got fed up of because it took so long.
That's not the Gary duet one, is it?
Yeah, well, a lot of it became that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's loads of great tracks. There's a fantastic. Do you know that? You know the single
Gospel. Trying to think of Candy.
It was Candy.
Yeah.
And I've got a different version of Candy. It's
Have
better
you?
on my computer that I did.
So you were working with Gary and Rob on that album.
Yeah.
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 And then it just got shelved because he met Tim and Flynn and went off and did Take the Crown instead.
Exactly, and that's what was exciting him at the time.
Yeah.
Got this version of he rewrote a song that he found the verse difficult to sing. Was it called Different?
Yeah, Different.
Yeah.
That was on Take the Crown.
it's on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
He wrote that with Gary.
Well, there's that was a duet with Gary, and Gary's verse is fantastic.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow.
Really so much better than what ended up on for me. Because, I don't know, he rewrote it. Because he gets bored with...
Wedding Bells as well. That ended up on the Swings Both Ways album.
Oh, yeah. That
they
was
wrote
one.
together.
That was one.
Was that a
that was
duet?
one.
Did they sing all the songs together?
No,
No.
that was going to be him on his own.
Right.
And yeah, sang that in his previous house in LA.
Mm-hmm.
That was a funny time.
Yeah, it's a shame. We'd love to hear all those songs that are on someone's computer somewhere.
Pop up here one day.
Yeah.
Drag them out.
We'd love to. I'd love to hear those.
Yes.
Yeah. They're good.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it was days of a bit of singing, then 3 of us swimming around in his pool, playing with the dogs, a bit more singing, then a bit of dinner, and then back to hotel. He kept trying to get me and Ryan to stay in his house, but we wanted to go back to Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
hang out there.
I don't blame you.
So you can stay. You're welcome to stay here. No, it's all right. We're okay in the hotel.
I'm sure he would have worked you harder if you'd stayed at his house.
I don't think so.
No?
Sounds as though Steve was worried what might have happened if he did stay at his house, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you're away, you like to walk around the streets and see the sights.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to be trapped in the house.
Whereas Rob likes staying, I think he's a bit better now, but he used to just stay in
He's
his home
bit of a
for
homeboy.
weeks on end, not leave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did get a picture of each of his dogs. What year was that? It was 2000. All 9 dogs he had at the time.
Wow.
I think that must have been about 2011 to 2012.
I think you're right.
Because there was also Weakness, which came out on Under the Radar too.
I think he was pleased that... Do you remember his dog, Sid?
Yeah.
I think it was a first for him. We were sitting at the lunch table or dinner table, and I asked Rob to move because I wanted to get a picture of me and Sid. So I think he was like, oh, It was the first time someone had said, "Could you get out of this selfie?" instead of get into this selfie. That was funny. I think he liked it. That the dog was more important than him.
Rob famously wore no clothes in the vocal booth sometimes, like handsome man,
dear.
apparently.
I knew you were going to ask that.
What other funny memories do you have, or crazy things did he do?
Well, it was my unfortunate. I had a moment when he were going to do the Tom Jones duet.
Yeah.
What was it?
For
Are you going to go my way?
right, yeah.
And we're just doing a mic check, and we checked Rob's mic, and we wanted to check that each person could hear themselves. And I went in, and I was just being Tom Jones for a moment, singing with Rob, and we had these not glass, but perspex dividers, so that we could separate the two vocals, even though they were very close together.
Yeah.
And I was singing away with Rob, being Tom Jones, and then turned round and he dropped his trousers.
In front of Tom Jones.
Oh no, Tom wasn't there yet.
Oh, he wasn't there. Okay. You
it
pretending
was
to
me
be
sound
Tom,
checking.
sorry. Yeah.
I was being Tom, doing the sound check, and it was like, thanks, Rob. That's a sight I'm never gonna be able to forget.
It keeps it interesting for him. I think
he's famously done that to a lot of people, though, hasn't he, over the years?
Yeah.
It's one of his party tricks for a while, just doing that.
Yeah. Once I had one of my favourite actually memories of the whole thing was when they did the London Stadium, and it was just a nice thing from Guy to me. He said because it was that was the show. I don't know if you saw this show when the music would start and the curtains were drawn, and Guy would start playing "Let Me Entertain You."
Yeah.
And then the curtains would slowly open, and then you'd realise that the stage was 30, 40 feet up in the air.
Oh,
and as the curtains opened, the stage came down to ground level in slow motion, kind of thing. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, you've got to be part of this, Steve. You've got to try this." So I went and sat on the piano stool with Guy when the show started, and I'd never, from the tiny beginnings of thinking, I don't really like let me entertain you, and I don't want to work with this bloke, to this moment of like being up there when, as soon as Guy hits the first chord of "Let Me Entertain You," the screams from the audience come and hit you like a wall, and then the curtain starts to open. You can see a tiny bit of the audience and going absolutely bonkers as the stage came down to the ground. It was just brilliant. I really enjoyed that. And then I said, I better go now before anything starts. And so I got off his stool and walked round the front of the stage. And Rob was just coming on, and he said, "All right, Steve." He had no idea I was going to be there. And he's walking on the stage. And, why is Steve walking off the stage in front of all these people? It was very funny.
So do you have a favourite song from Escapology?
Well, I think it's got to be "Feel," really. Yeah. About, I really like me and My Monkey. I think "Love Somebody's" a great song. There are a lot of great songs. "Monsoon," I love. I love song 3. Yeah.
It's it's a great album.
Strong album.
It really is. But they all are.
Yeah. A lot of people's favourites, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
I'm sure he's not that scary.
It can be. It can be scary, Rob, when he wants to be.
Yeah.
But not with me.
No.
Because, he once tried, in all the years I worked with him, he once tried to tell me off. But I just had to laugh.
Humour sorts a lot of things out, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, what it was on this album. Love Somebody. Love Somebody.
Right.
And as far as Guy was concerned, the lyrics were written, and we did a choir, and which cost a fair amount of money. Recorded this choir, and then Rob decided he wanted to change the words. And I remember he came, I don't know why, if he came in expressly to say this to me. But again, I was in one room, I was doing bass overdubs and mixing while he was doing vocals in the other room. And he came in and said to me, "And Steve Power," he said, "the next time you're going to record a choir, make sure the lyrics are finished." I said to me, and I just because we both knew that I can't be told off.
Right.
It's just not my nature. He was bad. He didn't exactly laugh back, but he just knew it wasn't working. He was trying to tell me off. But
he did actually change it in the end, didn't he?
Wasn't going to happen.
He did get rid of those lyrics.
Oh yeah, they were changed.
Yeah.
And and we had to re-record the choir again.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I think it cost something like £40,000.
Oh yeah, I remember that story.
That was what
Yeah.
we have read somewhere. I don't know whether that's true.
Because they maybe for both recordings, because they were it was a celebrity choir. It wasn't just any old choir.
Oh right.
Because it was Sly Stone's sister. It was her choir.
Right.
Yes.
And she negotiated a fine fee.
I see.
And then she sang on Revolution, of course.
Yes. I love that song.
Oh, brilliant.
That's her voice on Revolution.
Yeah. Also, did you ever hear the rap that Miss Dynamite put on Feel? Is that right? There was a version that had a rap that in the end it was decided to go without her rap.
She came to the studio. I remember talking to her in the studio. I don't remember if she actually did the rap.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember now.
Mm.
I know there was talk of going to, but whether maybe she just came.
Maybe she just gave a demo or something.
Maybe just we asked her, if she wanted, if she could, or take part or whatever. But I don't think she actually recorded anything.
No. Okay.
I think she went away to think about it, and then it was decided against before it got that far.
Yeah.
Is my guess. So I might be wrong.
I couldn't imagine Feel with a rap on it anyway. I think it's perfect as it is.
Yeah. She'd had that brilliant record single, that one big track that she had out at that time. And we thought, let's have a bit of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would you say the best thing about working with Rob was or is?
You never know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I can
You
believe
really
that.
don't.
And you've worked with a lot of different artists, of course, and so I guess he keeps you on your toes, right?
Yeah. But see, I've never tried to be his mate because we're poles apart as people.
Yes.
I'm not the kind of person he'd hang out with,
Right.
or me really.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, we've got a good relationship. He'll send me the odd message. When I got COVID at the beginning of the thing. He sends his love or whatever. But he kind of knows that I'm reasonably quiet, but he can't mess with me in any way. Because I don't overstep the mark in expecting much from him.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And I think he likes that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm always fine with him.
Yeah.
And so I think I touched on this earlier before, but obviously Rob's got his biopic Better Man coming out. Is it next year? It's planned to come
Next
out?
year. Yeah.
And they've obviously been filming bits and pieces for that in Australia and a few concert scenes and bits and pieces. So would you like to see yourself depicted in the upcoming film?
Well, I've seen some script and I'm not in that. I don't think.
You've been edited out of his story.
Yeah, I understand. Whenever stories are being told, it has to be in shorthand, and you can't have too many complications. So they always simplify stories.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll have in a scene in the president of the United States will go in with some person and talk, and in the real thing, there was a whole table of diplomats all hanging around, all had something to say. Yeah, but you can't have too much complication.
No.
So I think I've been written out of history.
Maybe some of your stories will still be there, but
just with someone
dramatised another way.
Yeah, probably Guy instead.
Yeah. No, he said, Guy sent me a bit of the script. Yeah, there was no sign of me.
Oh.
My mother's the only one who ever complains about that, of course. Where are you, Stephen? Where are you, Stephen?
Oh.
Why aren't you there, Stephen? It's just a story, Mum.
Just as a final little funny question, at the end of a lot of the albums, there's the secret tracks.
Oh, yeah, a lot of good ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But do you all just sit there having a good laugh, thinking about the people that have left the album playing, who then shit themselves when suddenly it starts again?
Yeah. Yeah, at first, especially Stalker's Day Off.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was how long can we? Being at the mastering, we'd be like, what's the longest we can possibly leave it? And I'm sure one of them is about 20 minutes before it comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, countless people never find out it's there.
Yeah,
at all.
So you actually do work out the time that it's going to be silent for?
Well, I think. Oh yeah, well, we take how long the song is, the hidden track is, and say to the mastering engineers, putting it on the vinyl as it was at the beginning. What's the latest? We can. How long have we got of free time before we run out of vinyl?
Yeah.
So, we can. It can go back 21 minutes and 13 seconds. Great, let's put it there. Would be the answer.
Pushing it to the edge.
Yeah, we don't get those anymore, do we? Now that it's all streaming and stuff.
No.
Sad.
No. Yeah, it is sad.
So, just before we wrap up this episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. And also, Lucy and I would really appreciate it if you can leave us a star rating. You can do this on both Apple and Spotify podcasts. We would also love it if you could write us a short review, and you can do this on Apple. Don't forget, you can check out our episode notes for each episode and links to all tracks and videos at robbiewilliamsrewind.com. You can also email us at email@robbiewilliamsrewind.com. Please also follow and chat on our social channels. It's at RewindRobbie on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. And you can also like and follow our Facebook page, Robbie Williams Rewind. And before we return to this episode, you might also consider sending us one of your own Robbie stories for the show. Just record a short audio clip on your phone and email it to us. Please check the website for more details. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
All right, so I think we've asked you everything. You think of anything else?
Is there anything we should have asked you that we didn't, Steve? That's a good question.
You should ask me how much of Angels I wrote really, and where is my check?
Oh, another person involved in the Angels saga. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it. Loved hearing your stories and your experiences through the years. It sounds as though you've got a very Liverpudlian way of dealing with Rob that you can only do by the sounds of it. So it's been great hearing all those stories, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We should do a part 2 one day, and a part 3 and a part 4, because I've got a lot more.
Oh, we'd love to.
Very, very happy to do that.
I'd love to go into the minute detail on different songs.
Why don't we do it in person?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny that the time has gone by now when it's nice to, at a certain distance, it's like, I'm trying to forget about that. But now it's gone to that distance where it's kind of nice to remember.
Yes.
And it's nice. I've been working with Guy a bit more in the last couple of years on various things. And that's been great as well. Really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So thank you very much, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. And we'll definitely take you up on the part 2, 3 and 4.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Robbie Williams Rewind.